All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. However, you are consuming this podcast. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Big shout out to both of our sponsors. Sunny Reds, 1841 Aber Road, just on the way from Highmark Stadium. And also, big shout out to Imperial Pizza as well. 1035 Aber Road in the heart of South Buffalo. Want to let you guys know, this Thursday night, I will be live, Cheektowaga Country Club, Genesee Street, not far from the airport. Matt Perino is going to join me. We're going to have some fun. I've never been to Cheektowaga Country Club. I heard they got some putt-putt there, a really cool vintage arcade. I'm going to get some eats, and then we will be doing a live show at 8 p.m., and I'll say this as well. After this Monday night game, that might be a far more interesting conversation that I have with Matt than originally anticipated. As usual, I'm joined for my midweek episode by my guy from SB Nation, Matt Warren. If you happen to be watching this, everybody on the video side, I have had enough losing on Monday between the Buffalo Sabres and then the Buffalo Bills that I had to go with the Buffalo Bandits gear right now. I wanted to feel like a winner, so I got the three-time defending champ Buffalo Bandits fleece on. I just want to feel good, man. Don't feel so great about that game that we all saw Monday night. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm okay. Dragging a little bit this morning. We record on Tuesday mornings, as we say,
Sure.
every week. And so it's been 12 hours since the Bills finished up that game. And so we're still kind of, processing it for sure. Haven't quite seen the L22 stuff yet. But just still feel like crappy. I had to read my book I had to cover the later game too. So let me just say this while we're on the topic. I think that Monday Night Football is the absolute worst time slot for a Buffalo Bills game, and to make it the B game on a doubleheader night was even worse. So I'm officially done with Monday Night Football, not because of the way that the Bills played. I wrote this on Monday at 11 a.m. too. It's terrible. I hate Monday Night Football.
So what we're doing, Matt and I, we've been doing this all season, and we will continue today, as we will go through the Bills positionally, kind of talk about what we saw from each position, and ultimately Matt will assign a grade, and typically I'll agree with it, or I don't sometimes. So we'll kind of go from there. This is a little bit different to Matt's point. So Matt and I record on Tuesdays for our Wednesday episode. Usually the Bills play on Sunday. So the way it'll go with this show is I do a live instant reaction post-game show, which I certainly did yesterday with Joe from Queens. That was very heated. But then the next day I get up. I usually have much more measured opinions on the game, good or bad. I spent a lot of time watching the film and kind of just get a better idea of what I saw, because I do happen to get emotional, of course, in the moment. I'll say this. So the game ended at, I don't know, around 10:30 or so. I went on the air with Joe from Queens. By the time I went to bed on Monday night into Tuesday morning, Matt, it was probably around 1:30-ish, maybe even a little bit later. I popped up at 6:15 a.m. here on Tuesday morning and went right to my laptop and started thinking of some plays in my head. I haven't watched all the film yet before we recorded this, but, a lot of plays I did go back and I watched, and I got to tell you, man, it was so bad. This team really, truly, sometimes you don't get the result you want, but you can look good doing it. And this team, and it just didn't. And here's another thing too for you. After I do my show with Joe from Queens, I'm still kind of wired up. I unwind, and I also, I'm not going to lie, I like to see what some other Bills content creators, especially the ones I respect the most, that do a live instant show as well. I like to kind of get a vibe, get a feel for what they're thinking. Their thoughts align with mine. And You and I were just talking before the show. I kind of have that tendency to be very over emotional in the moment. I'm a knee jerk reactor. That's what it is. I live with that. But I heard people, Matt Marino, who'll be on the show with me Thursday night, very critical of this team. But Joe Marino, the Bills squad, and Joe is maybe the most measured guy that I know, besides you. Anyway, you know what term he used to describe the Bills through 6 weeks, Matt? He said that the Bills right now should be on fraud alert. That surprised you to hear that from somebody like Joe? And before we get into positional stuff, do you kind of, in a blanket, agree that this team, at least right now, feels like it's kind of on fraud alert?
It does kind of surprise me to hear it from a guy like Joe because he isn't
Sure.
knee jerk reaction guy. I really liked the Mina Kimes reaction last night when she asked, like, name the top 10 teams in the NFL, and she just had like the Veep gif with just going like, what the fuck? Like, I don't have any idea what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to say the Bills are on fraud alert when you look around the NFL and literally every team has huge ass warts all over themselves.
Mhm.
Like, there's no team like, I mean, the Colts have been the most complete team of the year, but like, do we really think that Daniel Jones and like when we finally get tape on Daniel Jones, that the Colts aren't going to like come back to earth? Like, I look around at every team and I don't see a complete team in the NFL this year, which is really, really weird. And so like, yeah, maybe the Bills are on fraud alert, but they're also on like path to get the 1 seed in the AFC. So it's like, maybe, I don't know, like which way are they going to
Sure,
go?
sure. It's again kind of in the moment feelings. The Bills are 4-2, which I mean, it feels different to me right now though, but the Bills have been 4-2 in 4 of their 5 past years. So
Yep.
this is quite literally nothing new at all. But what I will say is, and again, maybe I'm just having some recency bias. It feels a little bit different. Like last year, I remember that 2-game stretch with Baltimore and Houston. And that Baltimore game, there's no Terrell Bernard, there's no Taron Johnson, there's no Matt Milano. I remember seeing the photo of all 3 of them together on the sidelines. Didn't have a sense of panic. I'm like, these guys will get back. This defense is going to be good. The following week in Houston, I believe Ed Oliver, in fact, he did miss that game. Ed Oliver didn't play in that game, and Khalil Shakir didn't play in that game. So it was still, to me, injuries were such a big factor to me in the Bills, that 2-game slide last year. And injuries were kind of a factor now as well. I mean, the Bills got a lot of guys banged up. Daquan Jones pops his calf. He might be done for all we know right now, the way that was described, him popping his calf during pregame warmups. I mean, just this team. However, the injuries aside, like last year it just felt different to me. Like right now, like Terrell Bernard played. We got hurt in this game late in the first half, but he played. Taron Johnson played. Matt Milano has not played great this season. I don't know, man. Some of these guys they're not playing that well before the injuries. With what's going on. I don't know. Does this feel different? Does this 4-2 feel different to you than some of these previous 4-2s right now?
I think so, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it was the Falcons that did it. The
Yeah.
Falcons a couple weeks ago got boat raced by the Carolina Panthers, and I realized that it was a divisional game, and divisional games can always be weird, especially end of September, early October. But they didn't score a single point against the Panthers, and like allowed, I can't remember, it was like high 30s, right? So the Bills team is supposed to be better than the Panthers team that absolutely walloped the Falcons. And so I think that is a major concern with a lot of people. They're seeing the opponents that have done this, that, last year they were 4-2. They lost to 2 eventual division champions in the Ravens and the Texans. This year, I'm not so sure people see the Patriots and the Falcons that way. So it feels different just because of how they've lost and the teams they've lost against. And it really looks like they have no answers. Like last year, you could say, okay, well, when Shakir comes back, he's going to be the key to unlocking the offense. Or, when the linebackers come back, they're going to be the key to, solidifying the defense. I don't know if there's an obvious answer right now as far as like how they're going to correct these problems like there was a year ago. And so it does feel different for a lot of those reasons. And so I don't blame any Bills fan that, looks at what's going on and is like really pessimistic about looking forward. I just want to urge them to look around the rest of the NFL too. Like the Eagles started 4-0. They've lost 2 straight
Yep.
to teams they probably shouldn't have lost to. Like it's that kind of year in the NFL right now. We saw the Chiefs get, embarrassed a couple different times already this year. Like the Ravens obviously are falling, completely apart even before their massive injuries. And so like, it's not just the Bills that are going through this really weird year, but obviously a lot of Bills fans are saying, well, if everybody else is falling apart and Buffalo is holding it together, like they'd be in the driver's seat, and they're clearly not right now.
It's just funny how quickly things could change. I mean, there was a point, 9 days ago, where for a handful of hours, the Bills were the last undefeated team in the NFL. And now here we are, just a short time later.
Not even first place in the AFC East anymore.
Like they're the 4th seed right now, and they'd be on the road. If the playoffs started tomorrow, the Bills would be hitting the road for their first game.
At New England.
At New England. Wow. All right. I didn't know that. I just knew they'd be on the road. Well, they'll be at New England later in the season, and suddenly that's going to be a game that feels like it's going to matter a ton. I'll say this too. So no matter where you want to put the blame on the Bills right now through these 6 games, if you say, well, Josh Allen's not playing good enough, the receivers can't get open, the offensive line's regressed a teeny weeny little bit, the defense has just been really bad at times, the secondary's brutal, Joe Brady's not been good, Bobby Babich could have his play calling duties in jeopardy right now. Any of those directions that you wanted to go, I think you're right. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of things going on with this team, which kind of leads me, Matt, before we get into our positional analysis, we never talk about the general manager on a week-to-week basis, because how we do it is we just go through each position, coaching, special teams, and give our thoughts for that week and kind of some big picture stuff as well. And we don't really mention Brandon Beane, but I think right now, this week, as the Bills going to a bye, I think Brandon Beane deserves some heat, some criticism that's going on. And he's getting a lot of it too, by the way. Whether he deserves it or not, he's getting it. There's a lot of issues with this team right now. These wide receivers are not getting open. That is not hyperbole. That's not people just saying it. That is like legitimate truth. These receivers aren't getting open. And Brandon Beane stubbornly, went at WGR and the whole thought that, hey, we need receivers. And he's adamantly been against it. And I think what you're starting to see, and we'll talk about this with Josh in a few, defenses don't respect the Bills receivers anymore. And they are starting to attack Josh Allen because they don't believe that these Bills receivers can shake off guys and man-to-man press coverage to get open quick. And you're starting to see that become effective now over the last few weeks. Some of the drafting, Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, these top 2 picks from a year ago, man, they're not getting it done. They're not getting it done. Injuries this year near the top. Some of the extension decisions that he's made. Joey Bosa, after a promising start, has really kind of slowed down. They're just a lot of the personnel decisions that Brandon Beane's fingerprints are all over. They're not working out right now, at least through this point. So before we get cooking here, I mean, am I wrong? Then Brandon Beane should be feeling some of the brunt of how Bills fans feel right now, which clearly, as you were talking people off the ledge when you and I first hooked up here a few ago, that's the way it feels right now, doesn't it? And rightfully so, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Beane certainly deserves to shoulder some of the blame for what's going on here. I really liked what they did with the wide receiver position this offseason. Them counting on some growth from Keon Coleman, I don't think is out of the question. Adding Elijah Moore late in the process, they've got talent at that position, but obviously it's not working out. It's not coalescing into, a good wide receiver group. So yeah, he certainly deserves some of the blame, especially after going on WGR after the draft and, lighting them up for for commenting on wide receiver or whatever it happens to be. And so they're not getting it done. I see people complaining about like depth at cornerback and all this other stuff too. And I'm like, I don't know how many NFL teams have depth at their 5th cornerback position. It's just like when you've got so many injuries at one position, like there's only so many moves you can make. We're probably going to have that same conversation about linebacker when we get there. And
Mm,
and yes, I'm sure he's not going to sit back and let this season slip away. They're going to be adding folks. Obviously, they get Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi back, real soon here. So like they're Brandon Bean definitely deserves some of the blame here. But I mean, we've still got a long season left as far as those players kind of coalescing into something that's not terrible right now.
that's fair. Definitely fair. Let's I was going to start with coaching, but it's going to intertwine because a lot of these positions we talk about will involve coaching, and I don't want to jump the gun with corners, but I can't help myself because you mentioned depth
Uh,
and the Trey White bashers, which you could consider me amongst them, I suppose. Okay. Yes. Has he been bad? Yes. Will we talk about that shortly? Yes. That said, if it's Dorian Strong or Max Saracen that are coming to replace him, okay, thank you. Good. If it's Jamarcus Ingram that is going into the game for him, be careful what you wish for, folks, because if you want to go back and watch that film, it only took a handful of Jamarcus Ingram reps when he was in for Benford to see how bad that could be. He pretty much, Taylor Rapp, as bad as he was, saved that touchdown by a half yard. That was Jamarcus Ingram who got beat on, I believe it was the Bijan Robinson touchdown run. He got knocked on his ass. Not good. So be careful what you wish for when you want Trey White off the field. We'll kind of revert back to that in a minute. Let's get into it right away with the quarterback, okay?
Okay.
Josh Allen, 15 of 26, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, including on the first drive of the game, 2 interceptions, which I watched both of them back several times now. He got sacked 4 times, and I'm going to put some of that on him.
Mhm.
Holding the ball a lot longer, it feels like lately, Matt. 72.6 quarterback rating, 6 carries, 42 yards. And I want to add this, and maybe this means nothing to you, and maybe it don't mean nothing at all. A couple of years ago, one of my big problems with Josh Allen used to be when he wasn't playing well, which wasn't often, or things weren't going right, it almost felt like he got a little mopey on the bench. And I have not seen that in a long time. I feel like I saw some of that on Monday. He looked befuddled, annoyed, obviously borderline depressed. I don't know what it was, but this was not the MVP version of Josh Allen that we've gotten accustomed to. Now, maybe I'm looking too much into that part of it specifically. I don't know. I want your thoughts on it, but give me your overall analysis of Josh Allen. I did not think this was a good game for him by his standards.
I like the word he used, annoyed. Like he did look annoyed on the sideline, and whether it was because his hand hurt after he got hurt, or the offensive line, or the receivers, or the play calls, or whatever it was, he did look annoyed on the sideline. I'll definitely agree with that. I gave Allen, I think, my worst grade for the season for him, a C minus. I thought he was great on those first 2 drives.
Yeah.
Even like they went 3 and out on that second drive, but he dropped an absolute dime in the bucket to Khalil Shakir along the sideline, and Shakir just couldn't get that second foot in, even though it was ruled a catch on the field. If you remember that play, like that
Yeah.
ball was just in perfect position. The first drive with the play action bomb, he had a great scramble. Then he had a dart to Dawson Knox. Like he looked like we're halfway through the first quarter. I'm like, okay, we're on a good Josh Allen day. And then just
Yep.
after that, he was pressing. He was reckless with the ball. He wasn't like pressing as bad as like week 1, 2022 YOLO against the Jets. But I mean, 3 turnovers with the fumble charge to him on the bad exchange, 4 sacks. He couldn't hit Ty Johnson on that third down play where he like flicked the ball out.
And it was a bad play by Josh Allen, by the way. I
Yes.
watched that back. He had
So
definitely
it
had
was just
time
like,
to make a better throw.
yeah, their 22% third down conversion rate and 0 for 1 on fourth down. Like, I think a lot of that was on Josh Allen. I mean, like, and you could certainly complain about some of the play calls, but not every single one of those. So I do think that he was not very good in this game. And when I say not good, I don't mean just like, not good for Josh. I mean, like he was an average quarterback in this game.
I agree fully. I think, and there were some throws that were not good. I wonder if the hand bothered him. The interception, so he had 2 interceptions. One was with 15 seconds left in the first half. I think he was just trying to force something down the field to make something happen. Ironically, almost cost the Bills 7 points there too, because again, London almost scored a touchdown at the very end. And then at the end of the game, he's on the run. I don't even know what the hell that was. I watched it back. There was nobody really open anyway, which kind of is a theme. So you're right. In terms of Josh Allen, forget about his standards. Even by an average quarterback standards, I thought this was a pretty mediocre game for him. That said, I think there's a growing frustration. I'm starting to wonder if it's already at the point where he doesn't trust receivers on this team. There's not people open. The teams are coming at him now. Like I just talked about a few minutes ago, and it's going to happen more because it should happen more. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I used to be shitting my pants at the thought of blitzing Josh Allen. But I'm telling you, man, the way these receivers just fail to get open, and I mean, we're going to talk about the running backs in just a second, but a lot of this is on Joe Brady too. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
can we skip the running backs for now and just talk about the receivers, since I do think there was a trust issue, and I think one of the only good things that ESPN pointed out the entire freaking game, I thought the commentators were terrible for the record, was that Terrell Shavers, when he didn't sit down on that third down play, there was a spot in the zone, Josh Allen threw it. It looked like there was a miscommunication. And so like the fact that they were missing a Palmer for a huge chunk of that game, I do think hurt them, because I do think Josh Allen trusts him, even if he hasn't been, getting open and doing a ton of stuff. I've defended Palmer a lot on this show in particular. I think his numbers were trending pretty much exactly where I thought they were going to be, like 800 yards for the season.
Yeah.
Just kind of like being that super solid option for Josh Allen. And so when he went out and it's Shavers in there, it really was a lot of miscommunication in there. I gave the wide receivers overall a D on this game. It was the lowest grade of the year on any offensive position for me. Again, they started real strong with the play action bomb, but then no wide receiver gained as many yards for the entire game as Palmer gained on that one play. So just not very good at all. Shakir had that one good catch and run on third down where he caught it short and then snuck by a couple of guys to pick up the first down. One of their few third down conversions. Even then they had to throw it short of the sticks because either they can't design a play to pick up a first down or they can't get open past the sticks. And so just not good at all. Elijah Moore was a nothing burger in this game. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the wide receivers right now.
Well, Josh Palmer, 2 catches for 60 yards, was the best on the team, despite playing less than half the game. I'm with you on Josh Palmer. I think him going out of the game along without having Dalton Kincaid to begin with, and Curtis Samuel. You know what? Look, it's a running joke. And you really don't follow the Sabres much, but Mateus Samuelson is a player who's got some talent on the Sabres, but you can never trust him to ever be in the lineup. That's what Curtis Samuel has become. I was watching the film last week, and I remember saying, man, there were some opportunities. Curtis Samuel, I feel like he's ready to start, contributing to this offense in a good way. Well, he gets hurt in that game, and he doesn't play in this game. So these guys are out. I do think that was a factor. I'll say this. Elijah Moore, they could cut him tomorrow. I'm over him. It doesn't seem like he's on the same page now. Look, he tried to make a really nice catch at him, and it was a bad Josh Allen throw. Okay, it was low. But I can't blame Eli Moore for that. But there was another play. They weren't on the same page, and Josh, it looked like it was 30 yards away from him. Same deal with Shavers. Shavers was a fun summer story. They got to upgrade there. Like if Brandon Beane does something in terms of a trade, Tyrell Shavers, who's, I think he's playing special teams. I haven't seen him make a play on special teams this year. They got to do better than that. They got to do better than Tyrell Shavers. And part of that reason is the guy that we're not talking about yet, and that's Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, 3 catches for 11 yards, dude. Joe from Queens called him Kelvin Benjamin on the show last night. He's reminding him of Kelvin Benjamin. If you strip away that first game, which he was awesome, 8 catches, $112 in that first game. He's got 125 yards in 5 games. The last 5 games, he's got 125 yards combined. That's like 25 yards a game he's averaging for this team right now. 1 touchdown over the last 5 games, couple drops. He's not getting open. He's just another guy out there. He's a 50-50 guy. I almost feel like it's almost a wasted rep when you throw him the football. If it's not in the red zone or if it's not a scramble, improvisational type of play, if it's a design play to Keon Coleman, it's almost starting to feel like a wasted rep. They're not getting anything from him with any kind of consistency. You cannot be considered a top receiver on this team, let alone one of the better ones in the league, emerging ones in the league. Bro, when you got 125 yards in the last 5 games, and there's been opportunities there for him to make plays, and they're just not happening. Brandon Beane, I hate to sound like everybody else because I've been blowing it off. I'm like, the Bills ain't making no trade a receiver. They got all this money invested in Palmer and Samuel, draft capital and Keon. Shakir, they gave a big extension to. They got to do something at receiver because Shavers ain't it. Moore ain't it. Samuel can't stay on the field. And Keon Coleman is just another dude. He's a big guy who can make a 50-50 catch. And that's it. That's it, dude. So, I don't know. Again, we keep going back and intertwining Brandon Beane throughout this episode. That's a bad draft pick. Lam McConkey got picked 1 pick later. Can you imagine what this offense might look like right now if you had Lam McConkey on it instead of Keon Coleman? It's a bad decision. I'm sorry. It's just, see, you're getting me fired up now. No, seriously though, Keon Coleman is just, what is he? What is Keon Coleman? Is Joe from Queens right? Is he Kelvin Benjamin?
I mean, the last 5 weeks he has been. He stepped up in a big way in week 1, but since then we've seen he was disciplined by the team. Like, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes either, and so, as much as blaming Brandon Beane for the pick is certainly a thing, we've now seen Keon Coleman bench twice for a coach's decision. And so at some point you have to look at the player and be like, okay, what is he doing wrong to stunt his own development? And I do think that that's what's coming into play here with Keon Coleman. And someday when he's not on this team anymore, especially if he washes out and ends up just going 4 and done or even 3 and done, I do think we're going to have a conversation about what actually was happening with Keon Coleman's development behind the scenes and whether or not he was putting in what he needed to do.
This summer feels like a century ago right now. When you go to training camp, what were our 2 biggest takeaways of training camp? I would argue that they were Keon Coleman looked like a stud.
Yep.
And that Matt Milano was arguably the best player on the field on either side of the football. And now we're 6 weeks into the season and Matt Milano's been hurt twice. And Keon Coleman, again, he's getting 3 catches a game for 20, 23 yards a game. It's just not good enough. And it is stunting Josh Allen at this point, man. At what point do you I just feel like you got to make a move. Let's take a break. I got to get my mind together here during this break because Keon Coleman kind of put me on a path of, okay. because we're discussing Josh Allen and how he played bad. And you're right. I agree fully with your assessment. But the more I think about this wide receiver room, once Josh Palmer went down, it's just, what quarterback is going to be successful when nobody gets open? You know? I don't know.
You saw it with Mahomes. You saw it with Mahomes early this season when the Chiefs weren't getting anybody in space and Mahomes was really struggling. And the Chiefs started out, what was it, 0-2 or something? They're 3-3 now. We've seen it around the league this year. Heck, even the Eagles with AJ Brown and freaking Devonta Smith are having problems with their receivers getting open. So I don't know. I don't know.
Let's take a break and come back, and we will get to the running backs, which I think is part of the other problem right now with this Buffalo Bills offense. Not because of the way they're playing, though. So let's take a quick break, and we'll talk about that. Matt Warren, you can tell that this game is still fresh in my mind. Oh, yeah. Usually there's an extra day in between, and I'm kind of a lot more in a chill mode by that point. But we're not. All right, so we kind of went out of order because I agree. We needed to talk about those receivers first. But the running backs, James Cook, 17 carries for 87 yards. The Bills' offense in the second half almost exclusively was, when it was good, was James Cook running the football. Ty Johnson, 1 carry for 5 yards. Ray Davis, Ray Davis emergence here. 2 catches for 19 yards, including a really nice 16-yard catch and run and a good play call and a good job by Ray Davis to get into the end zone for the touchdown. I want to get your thoughts on the running backs, and then I got a thought about James Cook, which is not a James Cook flaw, but I want to hear what you think about the running backs for this game.
The running backs got an A from me, man. They were my highest grade. If they looked great, 5 yards per rushing attempt. Ty Johnson even was, like we said, wide open on that third down conversion where Josh Allen couldn't hit him with the pass. So he was available. They were great. Usage, and we'll get to coaching at some point in time.
We're going to get to coaching in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, not great. So why was James Cook not on the field for any third down or fourth down in the entire game? I don't know. He was only on the field for 52% of the snaps because they went hurry up at the end of the game as well. And so he didn't play in those positions either. So, I mean, when your running game was working so well in the beginning and your passing game after those first 2 drives wasn't, at some point, like obviously they switched that up in the third quarter and just started handing it off, whether it's because Josh Allen was hurt or not is a different conversation, but like they handed off a bunch. They were still successful even when the Falcons knew it was coming. Like, why couldn't we do that in the second quarter? Why couldn't that be an entire game situation? So just a lot of questions around the running back position, to your point, but I don't think any of them was the play on the field. So again, give him an A.
Josh Allen's the best player on this team. James Cook has been the most consistently good player on this team this season through 6 weeks. He has been the most consistent player on this football team. It looked like at times, and on that drive, I think he had 5 carries for 37 yards on that touchdown drive to start the third quarter. It looked like he was getting shot out of a cannon. Just how hard he was hitting the holes. And this is where I said we got to go back to coaching here. 2 things when it comes to James Cook. My biggest takeaway from this entire football game is you look at James Cook, 17 carries. It's like, that's not too bad. Played 53% of the snaps. I don't love that. But you mentioned this. There was 2 specific plays. That 4th and a yard and a half where it was the Josh Allen ugly shovel pass to Ty Johnson. And then especially on a 3rd and 1, the jet sweep to Elijah Moore. If you go back in real time, and I swear I wish I could timestamp this to coincide with the game, I, in all caps, started screaming, Twitter screaming, that Joe Brady took James Cook off the field again. And then sure enough, they don't even give him the ball. They run an end around. How do you not give him the football on 3rd and 1? Worst case, he's going to get stuffed at the line. You run him again, or you run Josh Allen. You do anything but what Joe Brady is doing. Sean McDermott last week accused Joe Brady of being too cute. Without saying Joe Brady's name, we all know what the hell he was talking about. This was even worse. Where is James Cook in those situations? And also, James Cook has 1 target in the last 2 games. You saw Atlanta, man. They were moving Bijan Robinson all over the football field. Motion, split out wide, behind the quarterback, all over the place, in the piston, you name it. And they were finding ways to get Bijan in space and get him touches. What the Bills, it's, hey, James Cook, run between the tackles. Oh, here, we'll throw you 1 pitch or 2 a game to the outside. Where's the creativity to get the guy who's been the most consistently good player on the team this year of the football? And what in God's name are you thinking to not have him on the field? Even if he's a decoy, the threat of him running the football should be enough to maybe Atlanta doesn't blitz the guy off the corner. You know what I mean? Off the edge. You slip him out. There's just so many things you could do with him, and he's not even on the field. And it's just, to me, Matt, that is malpractice from Joe Brady. It's just awful. This guy's too good to not be a bigger factor in certain situations. And where's the tush push, by the way? That just went away. Sean said, I tried to get rid of it. It didn't work. So out of protest, I'm not going to run it anymore. Did the Chiefs break them in the title game last year? What is happening that they're running freaking shovel passes to Khalil Shakir, end arounds to Dawson Knox, and end arounds to Elijah Moore in these important situations?
Yeah, if we thought after last week that you should buy James Cook stock, I think after what we just saw in that game against the Falcons, like it's like double down time. Like buy as much. Like if you're in fantasy football leagues, trade for James Cook. If you're a betting person, start betting the over on James Cook, because I think that they're going to self scout obviously this week during the bye week, and the first thing that they're going to do is just start giving him the ball a lot more, whether it's on those passes like you were talking about. But I do think that they're going to run him 20, 25 times a game. They're going to start doing that. He had his lowest snap output of the season in a competitive game. And that's not the way that's going to, I just don't see that happening going forward with Sean McDermott and the way, this is not a negative. Like the way that Sean McDermott wants to win is that physical kind of running the ball thing and have Josh Allen put on his cape when he needs to, not all the time. And so I think that's what they're going to return to now is like that James Cook, like Sean McDermott's going to get his hand into that offensive playbook more than it has been in a long time.
Yeah.
And again, not a criticism. It needs it at this point. And by the way, like we're not talking about coaching yet. What was with the glasses? What's going on here?
I don't know. I got the same glasses.
His contacts?
I got them. These are pretty much the same glasses that Sean wore, which are stupid, by the way. And yeah, I just, man, I don't know,
it a fashion
man.
Choice? Like, what was legit happening? I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
I don't know, but yeah, man, it's, and I'm with you, by the way. I gave the running backs an A grade as well. The lack of usage or creativity to get them involved in other ways that they're just not doing. This team, oh God, I'm trying to stay away from the coaches so I get to other shit. They're just so not creative. They're so predictable right now. They're so easy to defend that it's annoying. Offensive line, actually tight end. We'll go there first. Dawson Knox had a catch for a touchdown on 2 targets. Jackson Hawes, a quiet day. I don't know how he did blocking. I haven't seen grades. I haven't focused on Jackson Hawes. He was no factor in the passing game, I can tell you that. And of course, Kincaid did not play. So tight end.
I mean, you said all of it.
I'm sure.
I gave him a B. Again, without going back and watching Hawes blocking, I don't really know what else to say.
Well, let's go to offensive line. Okay. All right. 4 sacks allowed. Josh was under duress. Atlanta was blitzing a lot. So, it's not all the offensive line. Connor McGovern played hurt. He got hurt. He stayed in the game, or he missed one play or something like that. Alec Anderson comes in. Josh gets sacked immediately. They did run the ball for 5.6 yards per carry. Again, Cook averaged 5 yards a carry. So I wouldn't say it was a disaster, but I will say this was about as bad as I've seen the Bills offensive line play, but some of it's on Josh because I think he was holding the ball for too long sometimes, which is a product of receivers not getting open, which is a product of coaching, which is a product of the general manager roster construction. I keep going on and on. I'm all the way back. But offensive line, man, what do you think?
I mean, I started out with them ranked pretty low, and then I reconsidered once I really dug into the run game stuff. So I ended up with them as a C. I thought that they, had a really poor pass blocking in this game, and it wasn't just the Josh Allen of it all. Like, yes, you can slide protections as a quarterback and all this other stuff, but I mean, David Edwards got absolutely smoked on that Josh Allen sack that Connor McGovern got hurt on. And like it was the same play. It wasn't because David Edwards got smoked, whatever. But and so there was Ross Tucker. I've said this on the podcast before. Ross Tucker says that the difference between a really good offensive lineman and a mediocre lineman is about 4 plays a game. And the Bills lost all 4 of those plays this week. And so they were mediocre at best this week. And I don't think it's like a long-term problem. They are dinged up, which the bye is coming at a good time for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know how you can look at that game and think that the offensive line played well.
They didn't. They didn't play well, but they're just part of it. Again, I'm not going to put too much on them. You said a C?
Yep.
Yeah, sounds about right to me. All right, defensive side of the football. Well, you want to talk about, by the way, the Bijan Robinson touchdown. Before we go positionally like we always do, let's just talk about that one play because I feel like every level of defense is to blame on that.
Was.
The sidelines, the people in the fans in the stands, you could blame them too. It just, I don't know, everything that seemed that could possibly go wrong on a single play happened. Which, by the way, in that Oliver offsides, the play before that, when it would have been 2nd and 19, it allows a 1st and 5 run for Bijan for a touchdown. But that play itself really felt like a microcosm of this Bills defense when it's at its worst.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it came out about because of the defensive alignment more than anything else, I think. As soon as he broke into the second level, I mean, there was just no chance that they were going to stop that short. There was a chance that they could have stopped it medium instead of 80 yards for the touchdown. At the point of attack, Deone Walker was double teamed. Oliver was a half step slow filling the hole because he was coming from the other side.
Yeah.
Because Bernard was in the A gap. And so he was actually another gap even over to the other side. And so him actually getting a hand on Bijan Robinson in the hole, I thought was a really athletic play from Ed Oliver. I don't fault him for that.
No.
Bernard, like I said, was in that A gap. Dorian Williams was motioned out because the tight end crossed the crossed the formation. So the only off-ball defender in the box was Taylor Rapp, who over pursued and got lost in the wash. And so, I mean, other than Ed Oliver, like getting a hand on him in the hole, I don't know if anyone touched him until Cole Bishop way the heck down the field. Now, Bishop took a terrible angle and then couldn't get ahead of him because Jamarcus Russell was getting his ass handed to him at the cornerback position. And Bijan Robinson went outside of that awesome block and cutting off the angle for Bishop. It was just, like you said, the perfect storm. The defensive, the defensive line did the best they could in that particular situation with the alignment. The Bernard being in that A gap really did not help them because he got his butt handed to him. He got immediately, his shoulders got turned and he got walled off and had no chance at the play. Taylor Rapp over pursuing, was probably the biggest mistake on the entire play.
Sure.
And it was just bad. Yeah.
When we get to linebackers, I got a hot take for you in a second. Let's start with defensive tackle. So Ed Oliver returns, not at 100%, but you know what, man? He had a sack. He had 2 tackles for a loss. Yeah. Deone Walker, bright spot, he was the biggest bright spot of this football game. 4 tackles for a loss. 4. He leads the team in tackles for a loss this year, by the way. He's got 7 for the year, which is the most of anyone on this team. He also had a pass knockdown, too. Deone Walker, and he almost made an incredible play in the backfield as well. Deone Walker is balling. Deone Walker, Daquan Jones, if he gets back, may not be the starter anymore. Let's just put it that way. Deone Walker, I thought, was borderline studly. Jordan Phillips, they only had 3 defensive tackles. He did nothing except jump off sides near the end, which, of course, hurt them. It's weird to talk about a defense that gave up 299 yards in a half to 2 players, but kind of talking about them semi-glowingly, but I almost feel like you kind of have to because this position was not part of the problem as far as from what I saw anyway.
Well, there's a reason Walker had so many tackles for a loss in this game, and it's because the Falcons spam ran it at him over and over again. And in the first quarter, they had a lot of success going away from Ed Oliver on those interior runs. And so I thought at the beginning of the game, like after the first quarter or so, I'm like, man, we're getting that inconsistent Deone Walker game again. And then like a light switch, dude turned it on, had like a lot of those splash plays. So he's still inconsistent, but I really like what they've been able to get from him. And I've said that when he's been inconsistent in every other game, like he's a 4th round pick, like what they get from him this year, I think has been really, really solid. And I think he's going to further solidify his draft pick going forward. I do agree with you about the Daquan Jones of it all. That was really not good timing for this Buffalo Bills defense for him to be injured.
Can't catch a break, man. They can't. This defensive line, that unit, I should say, can't catch a break. Dwayne Carter, TJ Sanders, now Daquan Jones. This was an overcrowded stuff position where I'm wondering who's going to be the odd guy out Now it's like, well, who's going to be
Thank
the
God
fourth
Larry
guy that goes?
Ogunjobi's playing.
Yeah, and even with him now, I mean, is it going to be Jordan Phillips? Is it going to be Zion Logue? They're going to sign one of those guys. Are going to get elevated or signed, I should say, to the 53. Is it going to be Zion? Is it going to be Phillips? Is it going to be Fedarian Mathis? It's not going to be Fedarian Mathis. It's just put that out there. But I don't know, man. All in all, sure, pretty good. Edge Groot, I thought he played a pretty good game. He had a couple nice pressures. He had the block field goal, although you could have blocked that field goal. It was pretty much kicked right into him. Joey Bosa had a hit, but I'm kind of starting to get down on Joey Bosa, man. He's not worth that money, I can tell you that. He's not having $12, $13 million per year impact these last, like, say, 3 games or so, now that they're starting to play some better teams. Javon Sullivan had a sack, so him and Ray Davis had sightings this week. That's good. AJ was like, Landon Jackson was, by the way, Landon Jackson was out there in a key point. I remember I was pointing this out.
The first drive.
I'm like, come on. I'm like, what are we doing? Landon Jackson was out there a couple times. Where I'm like, why is Landon Jackson out there? But I don't know. Edge, what do you got?
Yeah, I gave both the defensive tackles and the defensive ends B minuses because I really liked a lot of what they did, even if they had like some serious mistakes. After Greg Rousseau was lined up off sides on that first play, I think Landon Jackson replaced him for the entire rest of that first drive. I haven't gone back to watch the tape or anything like that, but I think that's what they did, which I noted on Blue Sky at the time. I'm like, that's a really interesting decision from Sean McDermott, coach's decision. Obviously, like, the Falcons marched it down the field and kicked the Bills' ass. So, I mean, that notwithstanding, Greg Rousseau had a really good pass rush on the Javon Solomon sack that forced Penix to step up into the pocket where Solomon was waiting for him. Lining up offside on that first play of the game. Obviously, the game goes very differently if that's a fumble and not an easy Falcons touchdown drive. So that kind of sucked. I assumed that the Falcons were going to attack Joey Bosa and AJ Epenesa's edge over and over again because those guys can't keep contained, and I don't think Atlanta did that. So I think the defensive ends and defensive tackles both played better than what you might expect if you look at the yardage in this game, like you said.
I would say this, and I agree with you. I think the defensive line was not the problem. I think it was more the back seven in this game. And just briefly, because we're talking about defense, I do need to point this out. You look at the 3 touchdowns Atlanta scored in the first half. So, first play of the game should have been a turnover, but Greg Rousseau is offsides, right? Next drive, when they scored, it was 3rd down. They got a stop, but Trey White got called for pass interference, which, in fairness, I thought was pretty weak. Yep. Bad call. But another mistake on defense to even be in the position where maybe you could get called for it, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, my whole point was the Bills had to stop, but then they don't get to stop, and Atlanta scores a touchdown. And then, like I said, it was, I don't remember who got the sack anymore, but Ed Oliver was offsides. It was Bosa that got the sack. It was Bosa. Was it Bosa who got the sack? Yep. But it was offsides on Ed Oliver. So instead of 2nd and 19, it's 1st and 5. And then the very next play, Bijan Robinson runs for a touchdown. So penalties hurt the Bills quite literally on all 3 Atlanta touchdowns that they scored in this football game. So that's bad. I want to point that out. All right. I want to get to linebackers, and I'm not even going to say a word. I don't want to slant anything that you may or may not say. So I'm just going to give it to you, linebacker.
Yeah, it's not good. I was waffling between C- and D+ over and over again. I think I landed on C- just because I wanted to blame the cornerbacks more and the safeties. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Especially because I don't think that the long Bijan Robinson run was all linebacker. I mean, yeah,
no, it wasn't. Not that
Bernard got turned in the A gap. He could have filled, but anyway. So yeah, Dorian Williams had that nice fumble recovery at the beginning of the game that we didn't get to utilize, and then Bernard just didn't look good. So yeah, C- D+ somewhere in there. That, I don't know. They're in trouble, and like, Balen Spector is not going to be the savior, man. They need Matt Milano to come back, and I hope he's healthy after this bye.
I'm giving them an F.
Okay.
I thought it was horrible. Here's a hot take for you. I said I had a hot take. Hate to say this. I think the Bills might right now be better off with Terrell Bernard hurt and Shaq Thompson starting. If give me Shaq Thompson and Matt Milano over Terrell Bernard right now, and Matt Milano, if you can get Matt Milano back. Terrell Bernard's a liability. He's bad. The pass defense I don't know what has happened to him in the pass defense. He didn't even play in the second half, and he got charged on ESPN Next Gen Stats for 80 receiving yards against him. Now, why does Bobby Babbage have him in deep zones where Landon Jackson can get behind him 3 times in the first half? That's a Bobby Babbage issue. But this guy is getting swallowed. He's getting washed in piles. He's not getting off blocks. He's not making plays. And he has been flat out lousy in pass coverage for the Buffalo Bills. That's just the way it's been this season. Terrell Bernard is a splash player. He will make plays that win you football games. He's done it before. He did it in the playoffs last year. He's had the Tua interception this year. That's what he brings to the table. But if he's not making those splash plays, he's not very good. And I'm seeing a lot more of that this season. So there's that. Dorian Williams did make that play and did a couple other things too, a couple of mistakes here and there. And then I'm sorry. I like Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson has played well, but Shaq Thompson dropped a pick 6 that hit him dead in his hands. You cannot do that. When you are desperately trying to find some way to win a football game and unconscionably Atlanta gets stupid enough to throw the football on first down and Penix throws it directly into his hands. Yep. And I watched the film. Drake London would have had to catch him from about 18 yards behind.
I don't think he would have made it to the end zone, but
I don't know, dude. I don't know. If somebody blocks and gets anything on Drake London, he's definitely scoring a touchdown. There was nobody on that side of the football field except offensive linemen. Shaq Thompson, worst case, he gets an interception and runs it deep into Atlanta territory. Probably a pick 6, but he drops it. So him dropping that ball and Terrell Bernard looking as bad as he did to me in this football game before he got hurt, that lands this unit an F.
That's
as
fair.
Far as I'm concerned.
That's fair.
Corners, Trey White. It is what it is, man. Christian Benford has been a little bit disappointing this year, I feel like. And again, I told you this earlier. Yes. Jamarcus Ingram got into the game. It was a disaster. Teron Johnson has made a couple nice plays, got beat, kind of got dunked on for a touchdown by London in the end zone. That was just a nice play by Drake. But
exactly.
I don't know, man. What do you think, corner?
Like, I mean, do you really want to say Teron Johnson played that touchdown pass poorly? I don't think he did. I think it was
no. I don't think so.
Right, yeah, but that's my point. You can't. I don't know. I thought the Trey White penalty at the beginning of the game on third down was a bullcrap call. I thought the Falcons had some really good play designs and execution on the first 2 touchdown passes. So I didn't really fault the cornerbacks for that. It's not the cornerback's fault that they weren't bracketing or double teaming Drake London, which we'll talk about in a second. I mean, he was just having his way with the Bills in that first half. But I mean, anytime you're having Jamarcus Ingram playing meaningful snaps for you on defense, I think it's a problem. But yeah, Benford has certainly not been as good as last year.
No.
We thought we were getting a discount on his contract. It turns out that's probably right around where he should be paid because he's been above average for sure. Above average starting cornerback in the NFL this offseason. But there were people talking about him in the top 5 defensive players, or at least the top 5 cornerbacks in the league. And I don't think he's up there or anywhere near there this year, certainly. So I do think they're going to have to do something at the cornerback position if Dorian Strong and Max Hairston aren't going to be able to play this year. Whether it's a Dane Jackson call up or going outside the organization for something, but they're struggling with depth at that position. But like I said, earlier in the podcast, when you're down to your 5th boundary cornerback, most teams are going to have problems there. And so that turns back to the coaching conversation.
I think Trey White, while a liability, is it's going to be Max Harrison gets back, or you're just going to have to live with Trey White. I think that's how it plays out for the Bills.
Even if Hairston comes back, he didn't play at all in training camp.
I know.
He was there for a week.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
I don't see an option that's out there that's better than Trey White right now, and that is I know a lot of Bills fans are going to be pissed off about that, but like, I mean, they're going to trade for Rasul Douglas with the Miami Dolphins? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either. It's worrisome, but the thing to me is, as bad as he's been, mediocre as he's been,
Yeah.
there's bigger problems on
Yeah.
this roster with the limited resources financially to trade. I just don't think that he is going to be one of the priorities. One that maybe is going to be safety. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think? Safety? I got it. I got my second of. Actually, I don't got a take. I'm going to read you a take after this. But safety.
Yeah, so I gave both the cornerbacks and the safeties a D minus. I'm not going as far as doing an F. I know you might, but so for the safety, like, I mean, obviously Taylor Rapp missed 2 tackles on the first drive and was the primary, I guess, reason that Bijan Robinson ran for 80 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
So like a very, big splash miss game, I guess, not splash play game for Taylor Rapp. Bishop took that bad angle and missed the tackle ish on the long touchdown run as well. So, I mean, again, I don't understand why they weren't bracketing Drake London, but again, it's not the safeties that are calling the plays. I was very surprised to see Jordan Poyer in a Bills game in the year of our Lord 2025. But that happened this week as well. So it's
he
like,
had a nice play or two, by the way.
yeah, I mean, you could do worse than having Jordan Poyer in the back of your defense as far as depth goes. But I don't think that, I mean, obviously Damar Hamlin's out for 3 more weeks. I
heard he's going to be. I heard to not expect him back for the season.
Okay. I don't see Jordan Poyer coming in and starting over Taylor Rapp. But I don't know. Who knows at this point?
Let me read you a take. ESPN analyst Benjamin Solak. This is from this morning. This is from about an hour ago. Watching Bills defense film from last night, Buffalo should be pursuing a safety deadline trade more aggressively than any deadline buyer of any position in the last few seasons. That's how bad. I agree. I think the Bills' safety room is that bad. I think Taylor Rapp might be the worst starting safety in the NFL. And if he's not, Cole Bishop might be right there alongside with him. I do not think you can continue to start both of those guys at safety. I do think they're going to make a change. I do think it's going to be Cole Bishop that gets benched. I think Sean McDermott has a lot more trust in Taylor Rapp than any of us do. And I don't know if you have Rapp at deep safety and you move Poyer into the box, or I don't know if maybe, God forbid, you give Jordan Hancock a look here and a nice athletic young safety. But I think they're going to do something at safety. I think you've seen the last of Cole Bishop and Rapp starting together. I think it was that bad.
Okay. But notoriously, Sean McDermott wants his safeties to know everything that's going on with the defense.
Agreed.
So, Ben Solak can say stuff like, yeah, the Bills need to improve at safety. But I don't know if bringing a guy in mid-season and like expecting him to start for Sean McDermott at the safety position is the path to go. Like that, it just as because of how Sean McDermott coaches the safety position, he has such high expectations of them between the ears that it would be hard for me to see somebody coming in that wasn't Jordan Poyer, who knows the defense back and forth, that like could come in and supplant Bishop or Rapp at this point in the season.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think it's something that they got to figure out. The answer is not on the field with Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop. Maybe you can get away with one of them. You got to do something. I don't think Jordan Poyer is the answer either. I really am frustrated that Jordan Hancock won't get a look. I don't know, but the safety play is as bad as it gets on this football team. I think it's deplorable. I think their safety play has been deplorable. We're 6 games in. Cole Bishop made an incredible athletic singular play against the Saints. I can't think of 5 plays both safeties combined have made this season that have been positive plays this season. It's just think it's been that bad. They got to do something, and I think they're going to do something. I still think wide receiver would be the move I would make, but the reason why I said I think you're going to live or die with Trey White and hope that Max Harrison can get back is because I just think that Sean McDermott is going to see these missed tackles and these bad angles and the lack of speed from Taylor Rapp and the lack of I don't know, football talent from Cole Bishop, man. and he's got to make a change. Something has got to change in that secondary. And I think it's going to. I just don't know what it's going to be yet.
Derek Forrest is available. Just saying.
Yeah, that was another great Brandon Beane signing too, by the way.
I mean, I thought he was a good Brandon Beane signing. Like, it's a starting experience.
So did I in March.
Yeah, starting experience safety to be your depth player. It's like the DeMar Hamlin signing, like super solid safety signing. At least he understands the playbook, or at least he has exposure to the playbook if he doesn't understand it. Like, I mean, if you're looking for like somebody that can come in and play a snap for the Bills at safety, you could do worse than that guy. But also, like, I mean, he was playing deep into some of those preseason games. Like, they clearly did not want him on this team in August. And so, like, I mean, that's the kind of player that would be coming in at this point in time. Like, there's a reason guys are available in mid-October.
For him to not be on the practice squad kind of was a little bit damning too for Derek Forrest. I still think Jordan Hancock's the guy that you give a look to. I just think the ceiling is there. I think he is a rangy, athletic safety that will run down plays that these other guys, they're just not doing. Real quick here, special teams. Codgerton returned after being inactive the past few weeks because, again, Curtis Samuel can't stay healthy. It's fine, I guess. Mitch Wisnowski had 6 punts in this. Six punts from a Bills punter, man. Is that wild or what? The first one he completely shanked. It was a shit punt. But all in all, he averaged 45 and a half yards, and he had 4 of his 6 punts inside the 20, including one inside the 5 in the second half. Do we have a thought about do we care? Now, the Bills had who was it? Franklin had a special teams penalty. He almost had a second one, too, a little bit too aggressive. That seems to be a weekly thing, a Bills return penalty. Do we even care about special teams right now?
I gave them a B.
Sure.
I thought that penalty that ESPN didn't show the replay of, because they didn't show any freaking replays in the first quarter of any of the penalties. We had to go to Twitter to find out that Greg Rousseau was indeed lined up offside. Anyway, like I said, I was already critical of the broadcast, but like I didn't see the late hit on special teams in real time, so I had to just take their word for it. But I gave them a B overall.
Okay, I'm fine with that as well. And yeah, you know what? Now you just reminded me that Groot offsides. That's a big play of the game. It's a turnover. How in the hell are you not even showing a replay that he was lined up offsides? I thought there was some terrible decisions. I kind of disagree with you a little bit though. Earlier, you said you hated the broadcast. I kind of liked it, although
Reese Davis couldn't figure out which team was the Bills and which team was the Falcons.
that was not good. That was not good. I enjoyed Riddick and Orlowski though a little bit. Who, by the way, were incredibly critical of the Bills wide receivers. Man, I mean, they were putting them on blast. Last thing, biggest thing, maybe coaching.
You waited for the edge for coaching.
Yeah, coaching, man. This team was flat. Mistake prone. I think they've had like 30 penalties now in the last 3 weeks. That's really, really bad. This defense stunk again in the first half. It was embarrassing how bad they were. Like, how do you not say, the Bills talk about the injuries. Atlanta was missing 2 of their top 3 receivers. How do you not say, I'm not going to let Drake London murder me? And you're playing soft zones and you're letting him get behind freaking Terrell Bernard and Shaq Thompson over and over and over and over again. I mean, what were they doing? Do you think, bonus question when you analyze this, there's already some growing buzz. Sean McDermott might rustle away those play calling duties from Bobby Babbage over the break. So you have that on the defense. We've kind of alluded throughout this episode to the offensive fumbles from Joe Brady, from having James Cook not on the field, from not getting him involved in the passing game, to just not seeming to scheme anything open that's easy for these receivers. Like, every blade of grass seems to be a grind for the Bills offense, not just this week, for a lot of this season. I don't know, man. There's a lot of, yay, Joe Brady, you could go to Tennessee right now, vibes going on right now, and I get it. Coordinators are always the punching bags too, quite often, but I don't know, man. This was a very bad game for them. What do you think about the game, the grade, and with the bye coming up? I'm going to see anything different coming out of the bye.
It was my first F of the year, Pat. I finally did it. I
Ooh,
gave
wow.
Bills coaches an F in this game, and it was because it
Mm,
was on both sides of the ball. Um, what they did with Drake London was malpractice. Like, I mean, just allowing him to. I mean, he had 128 yards um,
yeah.
in the first half, right, and was 5 of 6 for 64 and a touchdown in the first quarter. Like you said, they were down two of their receivers. Like, he's between Bijan Robinson and Drake London, maybe a little Pitts in there. Like, that's where their offense is going to run through. And they just didn't adjust to it at all in the first half. Um, they essentially, their defensive plan was to get the Falcons behind schedule so that they could pass rush Penix. And that worked several times. But if they didn't get him into that second and long, third and long, and they allowed, Robinson to get like 4 yards on first down to set up 2nd and 6. And like, they just, as long as they stayed on schedule, like up with a young quarterback, shocking that that's successful. Like, they were able to do good things, and the Bills didn't have anything to answer on defense. If Sean McDermott is willing to take away play calling from freaking Leslie Frazier, one of the most respected defensive coaches in the NFL, it would not surprise me at all to see him with the play sheet. When the Bills come back on the field in a couple weeks. Would not surprise me at all to see him take that back and then eventually relinquish it back to Babich. Like, that's what he did with Frazier. He took it over for a couple games, then gave it back. Like, that wouldn't surprise me either. Just as kind of a reset for that young play caller on defense. As far as the offense is concerned, can we just take the short yardage end around and like send it into the sun? Like, go away forever. Dawson Knox handoff, Elijah Moore handoff on, short yardage, third and 1, 4th and 1, whatever it is. It's just like, no mas, no, we're not doing this anymore. Um, they can't figure out the passing game. They can't figure out how to defend the pass. It's really time for some self scouting on both sides of the ball. And like, I don't think that there's another person coming through the door that can help. Like, I mean, when they fired Ken Dorsey, they had Joe Brady sitting there, in the wings, ready to kind of take over with experience. I don't think they're going to hand the play call sheet to like Rob Boris, the tight ends coach, like who has offensive coordinator experience, but I don't think he was the play caller because that was like, well, he might've been. I can't remember when he was with the Rams,
I
but
don't know
anyway.
either.
So like, I just don't think they've got Rob Boris, like, bashing down Joe Brady's door right now, to hand him the reins to that passing offense. I just don't see that. So it's not a clear answer on the offense like it could be on defense with Sean McDermott just taking over.
Well, in terms of your F, I'm with you there. So you gave your first F of the season. I gave 3 Fs in this game. To me, the linebackers, the safeties, and the coaching were all Fs in this football game. I think there's going to be some changes during this bye week. I'm not necessarily saying that there's going to be any personnel changes physically. What I mean by that is I think Sean, on the offensive side, I don't swear often when I have you on this show, okay? And I'm forewarning you, here comes a bad word, not suitable for work. Sean is going to tell Joe Brady to stop fucking around during this bye. And last week it was cute, and I think he's going to use different terminology, which, by the way, as you and I are recording this podcast on a late Tuesday morning, I don't think I'd want to be if I was a Bills assistant coach right now. I'm not sure that I'd want to be in part of that staff meeting that surely is going on today at One Bills Drive. It is probably going to be a very combustible, heated team staff meeting that is going on. But with no uncertain terms, I can promise you this. Sean McDermott is going to look at this game and he's going to say, all right, when did the offense look good? The first drive, of course, but James Cook running the football, mixing it up, play action, getting rid of the ball quick, getting back to what they were doing, which these last couple weeks they've gotten away from. Just weird moments to pass, weird play calls at weird times, Josh Allen holding the ball for too long. They're going to find ways to get back to what worked for them. I think that's going to be a mandate from Sean McDermott. He's not going to take over the play calling, of course, from Joe Brady, but that's going to be a mandate to him defensive side of the ball, he could take over play calling, but I do feel that Sean's pissed right now, and he said we're not good enough. I think he said that after the game right now. We're not a good enough team. I do think they're gonna get more confidence as they get deeper into this bye that they could turn things around. I'm not sure I agree with them, but I think that's gonna be the outlook that they come away with.
Yeah, I do think they need to get the tight ends involved more. Whether it's Knox, Hawes, or Kincaid when he's healthy again. Like 2 targets for the game for the entire position, I thought was a little bit wimpy. And I did look it up. Rob Boris did call plays for 2 years for the Rams under Jeff Fisher.
Any chance they dump Joe Brady? Yeah, I did it to Ken Dorsey. I don't think so either.
I don't think so either. I mean, those Rams offenses, first of all, weren't very good. 7-9, both seasons. And he started halfway through that 2015 campaign because they fired their offensive coordinator because Jeff Fisher's teams couldn't score points. So I think he fits in that tight ends role. They're struggling on offense, man. And I don't think that there's a silver bullet here unless Sean McDermott's just run James Cook into the ground and that ends up opening everything else up.
Yeah, and I do think they need to get the running backs more involved in the passing game. It's just been non-existent. Ty Johnson is a good pass catcher. James Cook is a good pass catcher. They're not getting involved in the passing game whatsoever. Like I said, James Cook has 1 target in the last 2 games combined. Last question for now, then I'll let you go. Obviously, next week there's no game, so we won't be having this positional grades and analysis. But when you and I convene next week, my last question for you is, so we're here on Tuesday morning. The Bills don't play, of course, this week. Is there going to be somebody on this roster next week that's not on this roster as we're recording this? And I ain't talking about Fedarian Mathis getting promoted to the active roster, okay? Let's just be clear about that. Do you think, I guess what I'm asking you is, are the Bills going to make a trade? Whether it's receiver, whether it's safety, whether it's corner, whether it's a defensive tackle, do they do something? And knowing Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, it wouldn't surprise me if it was on the defensive side of the ball, which is probably going to piss off a lot more people that it's not a receiver. But do you think this team is going to do something? Or do you think they conclude that we got our guys, we got to get healthy and we'll be fine? What's your prediction? What do you see happening with that?
I think at least in the defensive front 7, they're probably going to stand pat with the addition of Hoyt and Ogunjobi. Maybe signing one of the other guys off the practice squad, like Zion Logue or whatever. Depending on injury stuff, I could definitely see them adding a cornerback or a safety from outside the organization. I also think it's probably much more likely that Dane Jackson just gets a promotion if there's another cornerback injury that we have to, deal with on a long-term basis here. Bernard hurt his Achilles, but came back into the game. Who knows if that's going to linger, like that kind of stuff.
You mean Benford?
Yeah. What did I say? Sorry.
Bernard.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Benford.
Yeah, Benford. I get confused.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But Bernard had a different injury, which who knows what the hell's going to happen there. So, but hopefully at least Milano can come back and settle that a little bit. So, I mean, safety is a position I'm looking at, but I don't think that it fits really well with the Sean McDermott philosophy. So I don't think the Bills are going to trade for a safety. I think they could trade for a cornerback, but I mean, it's a limited number of cornerbacks that I think that they would add midseason. However, they did that with Rasul Douglas a couple of years ago, traded with the Packers for him and added him midseason, and he did play down the stretch for them. So they've at least done it at that position. On offense, would not surprise me at all if they completely blow up the wide receiver room. They and cut Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore. Wouldn't surprise me at all. If they can't find a trade partner for those guys and then add somebody that can take them, take the top off of a defense again. And we don't know what Jordan Palmer's or Josh Palmer's injury is. Jordan Palmer. Wow. That's a throwback. A Josh Palmer injury is. And so if he's going to be out for multiple weeks, maybe they keep Moran, Samuel, and still add somebody. I don't really know. So until we get a little bit more clarity on this injury situation, the wide receiver room's very murky for me. I don't think anything's guaranteed there.
I think the problems that they have on this roster are going to remain problems. I don't know that they're going to be able to get solved. You got to do everything else well to make up for what the problems are, I feel like, on this roster. So we're clear. I agree. I understand what you're saying about Sean McDermott, and I am with you. Traditionally, that's always been with the safeties. I'm just telling you that I think that position, the play has been so rancid this season that it's going to force them to do something. Maybe it's not even a trade. Like I said, maybe whether it's Jordan Poyer giving him the start alongside Rapp, which just feels nightmarish to me with two slow guys out there, or promoting Jordan Hancock and giving him a look. They got to do something there. I want to see something in corner. I just don't know that they're going to do it. I really think, and I agree with you again, that Max Hairston, I don't know that you could count on him right now, but man, even if he's good to go by week 10, and by week 12 or 13, he's out there playing and getting reps, and by weeks 14 and 15, he ends up your starter down at the end of the season, maybe that happens.
And if they know that Dorian Strong's going to be out for the rest of the season and just haven't told us, if they know Maxwell Harrison's going to be sit down the rest of the season, like they could definitely make a cornerback trade, but that's information we don't have right now.
True.
And so if they know that those guys are not coming back, then it would make a lot of sense for them to add another depth cornerback.
I agree with you fully. I would say this next Wednesday is going to be a huge deal for the Bills. And what I mean is this. If the practice window does not get open for Max Hairston next week following the bye, I think it's at that point you can't count on him for anything this season. If the practice window opens, maybe you could count on him later in the season. Maybe. At least there's a chance. But if that practice window's still not open after the bye, I think that's a wrap for him for 2025. And then the last point, if they're being honest with themselves, I don't think anything on the offense is going to change without them getting a receiver. So whether they cut Shavers to trade for somebody, whether they find somebody to take Elijah Moore's salary and a pick, or Samuel and a pick or something, I don't know. But those receivers from the Saints, they're the popular names, and we talk about them a lot, but they also just make really good sense. The Saints are going nowhere. You can get one of those two guys on the cheap, contractually, at least for now, and then you figure it out later, but they got to do something at receiver. Something's got to change. Something's got to happen. This receiving room's not good enough. That's an indictment on Brandon Beane. I think that's a direct indictment on Brandon Beane. Josh Palmer, injury, I'm concerned. If it's an ankle, 4 weeks, let's just say high ankle sprain, 3 to 5 weeks, something like that. We saw it. We saw what happened. We went out of the game, man. They have to do something. You cannot have Shavers and Keon Coleman hogging up reps where those guys just don't get open. It's not going to work. So,
yeah, I mean, if Samuel's in that game, I think things go differently than having Shavers taking a bunch of offensive snaps. I do.
Agreed.
So,
but when is Samuel going to be in the game? When is he going to be in the game? When can you trust him to be in the game? I'm not seeing anything from Elijah Moore. I think Curtis Samuel has production ability on this team. More, you might get an occasional splash play. I feel like if Samuel's I can't count on him to play, but if he's playing, I feel like I could count on him to make a play. So if that makes any sense.
It does.
We'll see. A lot can change, and hopefully does change for the Buffalo Bills over this next week. Make sure you follow Matt on social, Blue Sky, Twitter X, at Matt Rich Warren. As always, like I say, make sure you check out Buffalo Rumblings, SB Nation 2 for all your NFL stuff, man. Disappointing. Not you, this episode. Just a disappointing performance from the Buffalo Bills. And the worst part is it always sucks the worst when you got to go on a bye and you got literally all this time to just chew on it, man. It's the worst, ain't it?
Yep. 3 weeks of sitting there.
Oh, God. Anyway, all right. Thank you very much, Matt Warren. I'll be back. If things weren't bad enough already, the Sabres play on Wednesday night, and I think we're actually going to do a live instant reaction show after the Sabres host Ottawa on Wednesday. And then Thursday, live, Matt Perino from Cheektowaga Country Club. Talk to you guys then.